Fear is the greatest teacher you'll never want to meet. It doesn't knock politely on your door. It kicks it down while you're sleeping, drags you out of bed, and shows you exactly how fragile everything is. How quickly safety can turn to chaos. How the people who are supposed to protect you can become the danger itself. Floyd Mayweather learned this lesson at 7 years old, held up as a human shield while bullets tore through his living room. That moment didn't just teach him about violence, it taught him about control. Or more precisely, what happens when you don't have it. Most people spend their entire lives trying to forget their worst moments. Floyd spent his entire life making sure that moment could never happen again. Not the bullets, the helplessness, the vulnerability, the feeling of being used, of being powerless, of being nothing more than a body between someone else and death. What you're about to hear isn't a story about boxing. It's a story about what happens when a child decides he will never be hurt again. About the fortress he builds, the price he pays, and the question that haunts every perfect record. Can you win everything and still lose yourself? Grand Rapids, Michigan, 1977. Floyd Joy Mayweather Jr. is born into a world already on fire. His father, Floyd Sr., splits his time between the boxing ring and the streets, dealing drugs to support habits and ambitions that don't include being present. His mother, Deborah, is disappearing into crack cocaine, one hit at a time. The house where Floyd grows up isn't a home, it's a crime scene in slow motion. Imagine being a child in that environment. The unpredictability, the violence that erupts without warning, the strangers coming through at all hours, the needles, the screaming, the electricity getting shut off because nobody paid the bill, the refrigerator empty because money went somewhere else, into someone else's veins or pockets or plans. This is Floyd's normal. This is what he knows as love. But children are remarkably adaptable creatures. They survive by learning the rules of their environment, no matter how twisted those rules might be. And Floyd is learning. He's watching. He's calculating. He's developing a sixth sense for danger, for reading the room, for knowing when to disappear into the walls and when to pay attention. These aren't skills you teach. They're skills you acquire when your survival depends on them. Then comes the day that crystallizes everything. Floyd is 7 years old. His father is in the house conducting business, drug business, the kind of business that attracts guns and bad decisions. Floyd is there, just there, being a child, and then the shooting starts. His father, in a moment of pure instinct or pure selfishness, Floyd will never quite know which, grabs his son and holds him up, a human shield, a child's body between bullets and a grown man's life. They both survive, but something in Floyd dies that day, or maybe something is born. The understanding that in this world, everyone uses everyone, that love is conditional, that the only person who will protect you is you. His mother can't save him. She's fighting her own war and losing. His father is in and out of prison, in and out of Floyd's life, leaving scars that never quite heal. The adults who should provide stability provide chaos instead. So Floyd learns to parent himself, to raise himself, to build his own structure in a structureless world. Boxing enters his life not as a passion, but as an escape route. His uncles, Roger and Jeff Mayweather, are fighters. Roger becomes the closest thing to a stable father figure Floyd will ever have. The gym becomes sanctuary. Not because it's gentle. Roger is brutal in his training, demanding, unforgiving, but because the brutality has rules, because effort produces results, because in the ring, things make sense in a way they never do at home. Roger teaches him the shoulder roll, the defensive technique that will define his career, how to make yourself hard to hit, how to redirect force, how to turn defense into offense. But what Roger is really teaching him is something deeper.
He's teaching him that you don't have to be the biggest or the strongest to win. You just have to be the smartest. You just have to be in control. You just have to make sure they can't touch you. And Floyd, this skinny kid with survival instincts sharpened by trauma, absorbs this lesson like oxygen. Because this isn't just about boxing, this is about life. This is about taking everything he learned in that house of chaos and turning it into power. The power to never be vulnerable again. The power to never be used. The power to never be that 7-year-old boy held up as a shield. By his teenage years, Floyd is already different from other fighters. They're passionate, emotional, driven by love of the sport. Floyd is driven by something colder, something more calculating. He doesn't love boxing, he needs it. Needs it the way you need a weapon when you're at war. And make no mistake, Floyd is at war. Not with other boxers, with vulnerability itself, with the chaos of his childhood, with every part of himself that could still be hurt.
October 11th, 1996. Floyd Mayweather Jr. makes his professional debut. He's 19 years old, carrying an Olympic bronze medal and a lifetime of unresolved trauma. He wins by knockout in the second round. It's the first brick in a fortress he'll spend the next 2 decades building. But something is happening that goes beyond athletic talent. Floyd is discovering something about himself, about the world, about the nature of power. He's discovering that control is everything, that if you control enough variables, you can eliminate uncertainty, and if you eliminate uncertainty, you eliminate fear. Watch his early fights, really watch them. Other fighters are trying to impose their will, to dominate, to destroy. Floyd is doing something different. He's studying. Every fight is a laboratory. Every opponent is data. He's not just learning how to beat them, he's learning how they think, how they react under pressure, what they do when their plan A fails.
He's building a database of human behavior under stress, and he's getting very, very good at predicting outcomes. The shoulder roll becomes more than a defensive technique. It becomes philosophy. The art of being present but untouchable, of engaging without exposing yourself, of winning without taking damage. Because taking damage, any damage, is unacceptable. Damage is loss of control. Damage is vulnerability. Damage is that 7-year-old boy getting used as a shield. His style frustrates people. Fans want violence, they want blood, they want the primal satisfaction of seeing someone get hurt. Floyd gives them mathematics instead, angles and timing and distance management. It's beautiful if you understand it, boring if you don't. And Floyd doesn't care which camp you're in. Your entertainment isn't his responsibility. Your approval isn't something he needs. Needing anything from anyone is a weakness, and Floyd is systematically eliminating weaknesses. Outside the ring, the control intensifies. He starts calling himself Pretty Boy Floyd, young, flashy, unmarked despite years of fighting. The nickname is strategic, it's branding, it's armor, it's a statement that he's different, that he's special, that the rules that apply to other fighters don't apply to him. He starts accumulating visible wealth, jewelry, cars, clothes, and people mistake this for simple materialism. They think Floyd is shallow, obsessed with status. They're not looking deep enough. The money isn't about greed, it's about distance. Every dollar is another meter between Floyd Mayweather and that house in Grand Rapids where the electricity got shut off. Every watch, every chain, every luxury car is proof that he's not that poor kid anymore, that he escaped, that he won. The wealth is armor, just like the defensive style. It's another layer of protection, another way of being untouchable. But here's where it gets psychologically complex. Floyd isn't just building this persona for the public, he's building it for himself. Because Floyd Mayweather, the man, still contains that traumatized child, still feels that fear.
Still, he knows how quickly everything can fall apart. So Floyd Mayweather, the persona, becomes a cage for that child, a place to lock away the vulnerability. The more perfect the persona, the less room there is for the wounded boy underneath. He starts studying opponents with an intensity that borders on obsession. Hours and hours of tape, watching fights frame by frame, learning their patterns, their tells, their psychological weaknesses. It's not enough to know what punches they throw. He needs to know why they throw them, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're afraid of. Because if he knows what they're afraid of, he can use it. He can take their fear and make it his weapon. This is when Floyd discovers his true genius. It's not physical, it's psychological. He realizes that fights aren't won in the ring, they're won in the mind. And if he can defeat his opponent mentally before they ever touch gloves, the physical fight becomes a formality, a predetermined conclusion, a play where everyone knows the ending except the poor fool who stepped in the ring thinking he had a chance. His training becomes legendary, not because it's the hardest, there are fighters who train harder, but because it's the most precise, the most controlled. Everything is measured, every calorie, every exercise, every minute of sleep, every sparring session. There's no randomness, no spontaneity, no chaos, because chaos is the enemy. Chaos is his childhood. Control is his salvation. And the more he controls, the safer he feels. Except the feeling of safety is a mirage, and deep down he knows it. So he keeps building, more control, more discipline, more walls. By the mid-2000s, Floyd Mayweather has transcended boxing. He's become something else entirely, a system, a machine, a mathematical proof that perfection is achievable if you're willing to pay the price. And Floyd is willing to pay any price, except the one he's already paid, being vulnerable. His daily routine is identical every single day. Wake at the same time, eat the same meals in the same order. Train with the same intensity at the same hours. Sleep at the same time. There are no exceptions, no holidays, no celebrations, no breaks. Even when there's no fight scheduled, he's preparing. Because the moment he stops, the moment the routine breaks, that's when the chaos can seep back in. That's when he becomes human again. That's when he becomes vulnerable. The discipline extends to relationships. Floyd cycles through people like a shark moving through water. Trainers come and go. Friends appear and disappear. Women enter his life and exit, not because he's deliberately cruel, though sometimes he is, but because attachment is a liability. Attachment gives someone else power over you, the power to hurt you, the power to disappoint you, the power to make you feel something you can't control, and Floyd cannot afford that. His father, Floyd Sr., tries to maintain a relationship. Sometimes they work together, more often they don't. The wounds are too deep. Every time Floyd sees his father, he sees that day, the bullets being held up as a shield, being used. How do you forgive that? How do you let that person back in? You don't. You keep them at arm's length. You use them when they're useful and discard them when they're not. You become, in some ways, exactly what you feared. Roger Mayweather remains his primary trainer, but even that relationship exists within boundaries. Roger is kept close because he's effective, because he understands Floyd's style, because he doesn't ask for emotional intimacy. The moment someone asks for more than Floyd is willing to give, they're gone. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what they've done for him. The system doesn't allow for sentiment. His children grow up with a father who is present financially, but absent emotionally. Floyd provides everything money can buy: education, clothes, experiences. But what he can't provide is vulnerability, connection, the messy, complicated love that requires you to let someone see who you really are. Because who Floyd really is, underneath all the armor, is still that scared kid. And he can't let anyone see that.
Not even his own children. Especially not his own children. The media begins to turn on him. They call him boring, defensive, a runner. They say he's afraid to engage, that he cherry-picks opponents, that he's more businessman than fighter. And Floyd, in a moment of strategic brilliance, leans into it. If they want a villain, he'll give them the greatest villain sports has ever seen. Money Mayweather is born. The persona evolves from pretty boy to something darker, something more aggressive, more obnoxious, more impossible to ignore. He starts flaunting his wealth obsessively, posting pictures of cash, stacks and stacks of $100 bills, private jets, multiple mansions, a fleet of luxury cars. He calls himself TBE, the best ever. He disrespects opponents publicly, trash talks, demeans, creates spectacle, and the public responds exactly as he predicted. They hate him, they despise him, and they pay massive amounts of money hoping to see him lose. This is genius. This is control at its highest level. He's turned hatred into revenue. He's turned his own villainy into a business model. People will pay anything to see someone they hate get knocked out. And Floyd knows they'll never get that satisfaction, because he won't lose. He can't lose. His entire psychological structure is built on not losing. But he'll let them hope. He'll let them pay for that hope. He'll get rich off their desire to see him fail. But here's what nobody understands. Being Money Mayweather is exhausting. The persona requires constant maintenance. He can never break character, can never show doubt, can never admit fear or pain or loneliness, because the moment the mask slips, the whole thing collapses. The moment he shows weakness, all the people he's pushed away, all the critics, all the haters, they win. So he keeps performing, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, the greatest performance of his life and the most imprisoning. Inside the ring, his style becomes even more refined, even more frustrating for opponents. He's not trying to knock people out anymore. He's trying to make them irrelevant.
Floyd Mayweather doesn't just fight. He deconstructs. He dismantles. He takes apart his opponents psychologically before they ever step into the ring. And what happens in those 12 rounds is just the autopsy. The press conferences become theater. Every word is calculated. Every gesture is strategic. He studies his opponents during these events more carefully than most fighters study tape. He's watching their reactions, looking for insecurities, finding pressure points. The trash talk isn't random, it's tactical. He's looking for the thing that will make them emotional, because emotional fighters make mistakes. Emotional fighters abandon their game plan. Emotional fighters become predictable. When he fights Oscar de la Hoya, the golden boy of boxing, Floyd doesn't just disrespect him, he deconstructs his entire identity, calls him pretty, questions his toughness, makes it personal. Oscar comes into that fight angry, wanting to prove something, and angry fighters walk into punches. When he fights Ricky Hatton, he attacks his hometown Manchester, his fans, everything Hatton represents. He makes Hatton desperate to shut him up, and desperate fighters overcommit. Floyd knows this. Floyd plans for this. Floyd feeds on this. The real genius happens in the first round of every fight. Floyd doesn't try to win the first round. He uses it to download his opponent's entire operating system. He throws experimental jabs, tests different distances, sees how they react to different stimuli. It's like a hacker probing for vulnerabilities. And by round 2, he has the complete blueprint. He knows what they want to do, he knows what they're capable of, and he systematically takes it all away. Against Canelo Alvarez, young and powerful and fast, Floyd makes him look ordinary. Not by being faster or stronger, but by being smarter. By making Canelo commit to punches that land on nothing. By being exactly where Canelo doesn't expect him to be. By round 6, you can see it in Canelo's eyes, the realization, the dawning horror that nothing is working, that everything he prepared for is useless. This is the Mayweather effect.
It's not physical destruction. It's the destruction of hope. The Manny Pacquiao fight becomes the most anticipated bout in boxing history. 5 years of negotiations, millions of people waiting to see if anyone can solve the Mayweather puzzle. And Floyd gives them a masterclass in disappointment. He doesn't give the crowd what they want. He doesn't engage in a war. He gives them precision. He gives them a systematic, frustrating, technical beatdown that proves his point. Your entertainment is not my concern. Winning is my concern. Not losing is my concern. Everything else is irrelevant. People complain afterward. They say the fight was boring, that Floyd ran, that Pacquiao was robbed. But Floyd doesn't care about their complaints. He cares about the record. He cares about being undefeated, because that record is the proof. Proof that the system works. Proof that control defeats chaos. Proof that he's not that helpless child anymore. The psychological warfare extends beyond individual opponents. It's in how he structures his entire career. He fights on his terms, his timeline, his rules. He makes opponents wait years for their opportunity, makes them desperate, makes them agree to conditions that favor him slightly. Weight classes negotiated to his advantage, glove sizes, drug testing protocols, ring size. Everything is tilted just enough, not because he needs these advantages to win, but because controlling every variable is the point. The more control he has, the less vulnerable he is. And the beautiful thing, from Floyd's perspective, is that all of this, the trash talk, the villain persona, the frustrating style,
the careful opponent selection, all of it makes him richer. Every criticism generates more interest. Every hater becomes a paying customer, hoping to see him fail. He's turned the entire sport into a machine that feeds his bank account while proving his invincibility. It's perfect. It's genius. It's the ultimate control. But control is heavy. Control requires constant vigilance. Control means you can never relax, never let your guard down, never trust that things will be okay without your direct intervention.
Control means you're alone even when you're surrounded by people, especially when you're surrounded by people, because everyone around you is a potential threat. Everyone is someone who might get too close, who might see the vulnerable person underneath, who might hurt you. So you keep them at a distance. You keep everyone at a distance, and you tell yourself this is strength, this is power, this is winning. But late at night, in a mansion filled with everything money can buy, the question starts to whisper. Is this what winning feels like? Is this what you fought for? Is this freedom, or is this just another kind of prison? September 2017. Floyd Mayweather defeats Conor McGregor in a spectacle that barely qualifies as a real fight. It's his 50th professional victory, 50-0, the perfect record, the goal achieved, the system validated. He announces his retirement, again, for the third time, and this time everyone believes it. Because what's left to prove? What opponent could matter after 50? What could motivate a man who's already perfect? But retirement for Floyd Mayweather isn't peace. It's not satisfaction. It's not happily ever after. It's something much more complicated. Because when you've built your entire identity around control, around discipline, around the routine of preparation and victory, what happens when that structure goes away? Who are you when you're not proving you're untouchable? Floyd discovers that stopping is harder than continuing. The routine was a cage, but it was also the only thing giving his life structure. Without training camp, without opponents to study, without fights to prepare for, there's just time, empty time, time to think, time to feel, time to confront all the things he's been running from for 40 years. He can't stay retired. In 2018, he takes an exhibition fight in Japan, then talks about coming back for real, then more exhibitions, fighting Logan Paul, a YouTuber with no professional boxing experience, in a fight that means nothing except it fills time. It gives him routine. It gives him purpose. It gives him something to control, because without that, he has to face himself. And facing himself is the one opponent Floyd Mayweather has spent his entire life avoiding. Look at his relationships. His children are adults now, or nearly so. He's provided for them financially in ways his father never did for him. But emotionally, there's distance. There's always been distance. Because letting them in completely would mean showing them the wounded child inside, would mean admitting he's not untouchable, would mean being vulnerable. And vulnerability, for Floyd, is death. So he gives them money and presents and protection, but not himself. Not really. How could he? He locked that self away decades ago. His parents are older now. His father still tries to be part of his life, still wants recognition for training the greatest fighter ever. And Floyd allows it, sometimes. But the wound from that day, from being used as a shield, never healed. It can't heal, because healing would require forgiveness, and forgiveness would require vulnerability, and vulnerability is the enemy. So they exist in this strange space where they're connected by blood and history,
but separated by everything that matters. His mother is still fighting her own demons. Floyd supports her, helps her, but there's a wall. How do you reconnect with someone who couldn't protect you? How do you trust someone who chose drugs over you? You don't. You can't. Not when your entire survival strategy has been built on not trusting anyone. The money is still there, more than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. But what is money buying him now? Not safety, he's safe. Not respect, he has that whether people want to give it or not. Not happiness, that's the thing money can't buy. Especially when you've trained yourself not to need anything that could make you vulnerable to loss. The mansions are full of things and empty of meaning. The cars sit in garages, unused. The jewelry sits in safes, unworn. All of it is proof of victory, but none of it fills the void. There are videos of Floyd late at night counting money. Stacks and stacks of cash spread across a bed.
He films himself doing this, posts it for the world to see. People mock him for it. They say it's sad, pathetic, the behavior of someone who doesn't know what else to do with themselves. But they're not quite right. The money counting is ritual. It's meditation. It's the physical manifestation of safety. Every bill counted is proof that he's far from Grand Rapids. Every stack is proof that he's not poor, that he's not helpless, that he's not that child anymore. It doesn't work. The proof is never quite enough, but he keeps trying. What else can he do? The discipline that made him great has become his prison. The control that kept him undefeated has become his isolation. The walls he built to keep pain out have trapped him inside. He achieved perfection in his craft, became the best of his generation, maybe the best ever. But perfection is cold. Perfection is lonely. Perfection doesn't laugh, doesn't cry, doesn't feel. And somewhere underneath all the armor, underneath Money Mayweather and TBE and the perfect record, there's still a person. There's still that child who needed love and protection and safety and got none of those things, who decided the only way to survive was to need nothing, to feel nothing, to be untouchable. Floyd Mayweather won 50 professional fights. He made nearly $1 billion. He became famous worldwide. He proved everyone who doubted him wrong. He achieved everything he set out to achieve. And in doing so, he lost something that can never be recovered. He lost the ability to let anyone in, to trust, to be vulnerable, to be loved, not for what he's accomplished or what he can provide, but for who he is underneath everything. That's the price of perfection. That's what it costs to never lose. You win every battle and lose yourself. You become undefeated and unreachable. You build a fortress so strong that nothing can hurt you, and then you realize you're locked inside it, alone, with all your victories and all your money and all your proof that you're better than everyone, and none of it answers the question that haunts every quiet moment. Was it worth it?
Floyd Mayweather wasn't beaten by any opponent. He was never knocked down, never truly hurt in the ring. He's the only fighter who can claim perfect victory. But outside the ring, he knocked himself out. One controlled, calculated, disciplined decision at a time. He turned himself into exactly what he needed to be to survive his childhood, untouchable. And in becoming untouchable, he became unreachable, even to himself.
There's a kind of tragedy in perfection. Not the obvious kind, where someone fails despite their best efforts, but the deeper kind, where someone succeeds completely and discovers that success doesn't feel the way they thought it would. That getting everything you wanted doesn't fill the emptiness inside. That winning doesn't heal the wounds that made you need to win in the first place. Floyd Mayweather taught the world that with enough discipline, enough control, enough sacrifice, you can become undefeated. What he couldn't teach us, what maybe he's still learning himself, is whether being undefeated is the same as being free. Whether a perfect record is worth an imperfect life. Whether it's better to win everything and lose yourself, or to risk losing and stay human. 50-0. Undefeated. Untouchable. Unreachable. Alone. That's not a record. That's a life sentence. And the saddest part is, Floyd Mayweather gave it to himself. One perfect punch at a time.